I remember distinctly the very first time that I ever really prayed. I'm not talking about being in services or reading a prayer book or even going through the mechanics of becoming a bar mitzvah. I mean really praying with my heart, my soul, my kishkas. The date was September 29th, 1969. I was 15 years old, and I had just been told that my father had died. I needed to be alone, and for some reason I went into our upstairs bathroom, closed the door, sat on the floor, and just began to pray. I don't remember the exact words I spoke, but I remember what it was about. Please, God, let this be a nightmare that I wake up from. Please, God, don't let my father be afraid. Please, God, let my mom be strong. Please, God, make this feeling of being lost and alone and empty of everything precious to me, let this feeling please go away. I remember those feelings, being lost and alone and empty and afraid. And all I wanted was for it to go away, to somehow go back in time to that day before where everything was normal, where my dad was alive and smiling and coming back from work. And I desperately, desperately wanted God to make it all happen. All this came up for me because I met with a member of our community recently who had received a devastating medical diagnosis. After listening to his stoic rendition of his journey that led him to me sitting with him, the accidental discovery of his illness, the tests that were done, the waiting that occurred, and then the diagnosis, I asked if he wanted to be on the Misha Barak list. He thought for a moment and then asked me, "Do you believe that God can heal me?" Back when I was 15, I think I believed that God could have healed him. Because that's what I had prayed when my dad died, that God could somehow intervene in human history in order to right a perceived wrong. But my personal theology has changed since that time. I don't believe that God intervenes directly into our lives, that God directly causes us to die or to get cancer or to go blind or to have a colostomy, or that God can heal Aunt Martha's pancreatic cancer or Susie's back pain any more than God can help me win the lottery or stop the fighting in Ukraine or return the hostages from Gaza or end gun violence in this country. But that is the God described in Torah. In Numbers 12, we read how Miriam and Aaron trash talk Moses. A couple of weeks ago, we read this portion. They go about and gossip that Moses married a Cushite woman. First, we know that his wife, Zipporah, is a Midianite priest's daughter. So she isn't Jewish, at least initially. And then Miriam and Aaron seem to suggest that he married a black woman. And this seems to be the essence of their trash talk. They make it personal, very personal. We can only imagine how this must have hurt Moses. Some of the troublemakers, like Korach in this week's parasha, Moses could at least understand. But his siblings? God was furious with Miriam and Aaron and punishes Miriam by afflicting her with leprosy. What is Moses' response? The Torah records one of the very first personal prayers ever recited. Elna Rafanallah. Elna Rafanallah. O God, please heal her. Probably one of the most poignant lines in all of Torah. Elna Rafanallah. Please, God, please heal her. In the Torah, God does what Moses asks. In life, I'm not so sure. Which is why my theology has changed. I cannot reconcile a God who chooses to heal Miriam after Moses prays, but chose not to stop 6 million innocent souls from dying. Or 11 people from Tree of Life Synagogue, or 19 children and 2 adults from Uvalde, Texas, or 1,200 on October 7th. Is it that no one worthy enough prayed for their safety? Or that they were not worthy enough to be saved? I can't accept that. And yet there are things in life that we just don't understand. And we know that there is brain power and body power that we just don't utilize. And maybe those things we don't understand, or maybe the brain matter or body matter that we don't use, maybe that is God. And that is what miracles are made of. Maybe when Aunt Martha or Susie are healed and the doctors can't explain it, well, maybe it is God. Or maybe that part of our complex human anatomy that gets tapped into and something triggers the healing. Is that God? Is that us? Is that a fluke? I don't really know. What I do know is that many of us, at those moments of intense struggle and pain, we pray. Sometimes we use the word God. Sometimes we don't. There is something about these moments. When my father died, when Moses saw his sister suffering, that stirs our kishkas and our emotional cores, cause us to pray. So what's the purpose of praying if God isn't such that God controls all that happens? I believe that prayer has 3 purposes. First, I think for all of us, prayer is a release. Is a way of expressing our deepest fears and hopes in a way that puts it out there, kind of like a pressure cooker, and that valve on top releases the steam. Prayer is the release of our emotional steam. Second, prayer is a way of gaining support we need to get through whatever is happening. If we pray in public, or the Christian, Jewish, or Muslim prayer, all have a mechanism by which to share individual pains. It is, as I have often quoted, that hallmark saying that was on my mother's nightstand for many, many years. Friendship doubles the joy and divides the grief. Sharing gets those extra hands around us to support us in our struggle. And finally, prayer, well, maybe it does work. Maybe it is God. Maybe it is that part of our brain matter or our body matter we don't normally tap into. Maybe it's something else. But prayer, it comes naturally and it is powerful. And sometimes, it does make a difference. Back on September 29th, 1969, I prayed my kishkas out. Nothing changed. Nothing. My dad didn't come back. But you know what? I realized much later that some of my prayers were, in fact, answered. My mom was and remained for her entire life one of the strongest people I ever met. And my sisters and I, and my mom, we all moved on and grew and became better human beings. We missed my father, but we were no longer alone or empty or lost. So maybe, just maybe, my prayer worked. So when that member of our congregation, whom I sat with, asked if God could heal him, I paused for a long time. He was asking that fundamental faith question about the efficacy of prayer and the very nature of God. But for him, it was personal, just like it was for Moses when he saw his sister suffering, just like it was for me when my dad died. I told him, I don't know, but I want to believe that prayer does have power, and when we pray and ask for healing, there is a coming together of forces, some we may understand and some we don't, that support us on our journeys, whether we eventually heal or not. And then I asked him if we could pray together. He looked at me and he said, I've never had someone pray over me before. I responded, let's not look at it as praying over you, but praying with you. That you know someone else's mind and spirit are joining yours in that moment. Who knows what could happen? And so we did. I invited him to close his eyes, and I did the same. We held hands. We prayed. I ended our prayer with El Na Rafanalo. Please, God, heal him now. I opened my eyes, and tears were streaming down his face. I held his hands and quietly asked if he thought the prayer helped. He said he didn't know if it helped heal him, but it helped make him whole. So like my prayer so many decades ago, we never know what prayer will do. Maybe the answers we receive are to requests we haven't even asked. So tonight, we turn to